Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to build this Locust, or Shrek? Medium Panzermech. This is a 28mm scale resin and metal model for Warlord's game Konflikt 47, which is an alternate history game that has things like big stompy mech boys and railguns on tanks and things like that. I may as well mention now that I am a Warlord Games affiliate, and this model was sent to me by Warlord when I became an affiliate. What that means is, if you use my affiliate link to buy this kit or anything from Warlord, I'll get a small kickback. This doesn't cost you, the buyer, anything, but it would be very nice if you did use it. Links are in the description below. The back of the box has a picture of the mech next to a regular 28mm scale figure, which is only shown for scale and not included. There's also a few paragraphs that talk about some of the lore around the Locust, and it seems like they've put a lot of effort into creating this alternate history, and I think that's pretty cool. Inside the box we find two of these blister packs, packed by Chuck. Thanks, Chuck. One of these has the resin parts, and the other, unsurprisingly, the metal parts and a 60mm base, which, as you can see here, is very basey. Here's the 6 resin parts. If you've been around my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of resin, but this stuff is pretty neat and well detailed, and I think they've taken some care in making these bits. There was a little bit of flashing and a few knobs from the feeder sprues, but they were very easy to clean up. I'm no resin surgeon, but this doesn't seem to be the kind of resin I'm used to, and I found it pretty easy to cut with my knife. It only took a couple of minutes to neaten these parts up. I think the details here look pretty good. I mean, it's not hyper detailed or anything like that, but this is a gaming piece, so that's no surprise. And it's not a complaint either. There's a lot of things that will make painting this fun, like those big chunky bolts and the hinges and things like that. And here are the metal parts. Like the resin parts, these are pretty well made, though not perfect, and some cleanup is going to be needed. Again, not a big deal, and it didn't take long at all. Some parts may need a little bit of bending to get back into the correct shape, which is often the case for soft metal parts like guns and things like that. There are a few choices in the parts here, which is nice, and my bits box will be happy to receive a couple of extra guns. Decals are also included with this kit. These are, as it says at the top, late war German generic vehicle decals. Not a huge amount of choice here, but I think this should be plenty for one mech. An instruction leaflet is also, unsurprisingly, included. Well, this side just talks about the resin kits, but the other side has some exploded diagrams to help us put this thing together. It looks pretty simple really, and, spoilers, it is. Let's begin. The first thing I did was to glue the gravitational jump modules onto the back of the main body. This is pretty hard to put on wrong, though I wasn't totally sure if I had it the right way up, or if it even mattered. It looks fine to me though. This model is already feeling quite heavy, which isn't really surprising. Next comes this, well, I don't know what you might call it. There's a couple of vents and the ball mounts for the legs. It goes into place pretty easily, but there is a fair bit of play to it. I would suggest positioning this as far down as it will go to allow a little bit more clearance for the legs later on. Next I add the hull guns, or belly guns, or guns. You get a choice of machine guns or light automatic cannons here, and the fit of the parts is pretty good. The one on the left went into place pretty much perfectly. The one on the right was a little bit more difficult, but only because superglue is a bit of a jerk and was taking a while to bond. It does things like that when it knows it's being watched, like on a stream. The guns did both end up in position though, and they look pretty interesting. I chose the machine guns because they looked like they'd be more interesting to paint than the cannons. Now it's time for legs. There's not too much to this. I start by test fitting, which is a good idea, and then I glue the foot onto the leg, and before it sets, I dry fit against the body to get what looks like a good positioning for the foot. There isn't a whole lot of posability here, but there is some, and I do want it to be posed in a way that looks plausible. That's why I'm not just racing ahead and gluing everything together willy-nilly. Obviously, the same thing is done with the other leg. I leave the legs to sit and bond for a while, and I work on the arms. Specifically, the attaching of the shieldy things to the upper arms, or I guess shoulders. There is some keying to help you get the right position, just make sure that you glue it on the right way around. Then I attached the legs. In theory, this is easy enough, though because superglue is a right bastard, it was a bit fiddly. The method is simply putting the legs onto the ball mounts and holding the entire thing in what looks like a good position. I did have a little bit of trouble with the left leg not bonding, though I did edit most of that out of this video. It's not so much a problem with the kit, but the fact that superglue will either set way too quickly or take way too long to bond, depending on how happy you are with the positioning of the part. I do know that accelerators exist, and I don't have any, and I think it might be a bit hard to use them when needing 2 hands. I don't have 3, so it would be kind of hard to apply the accelerator. Anyway, the model is freestanding when the legs are on, though it is a bit forward heavy, but if you're careful it shouldn't fall over. The next thing I did was to attach the clamps to the ends of the arms. This isn't especially challenging, though it is a good idea to think about where you want your arms to be, and make sure the clamps won't interfere with your positioning. Then, why not attach those arms to the body? I thought it might be entertaining to have one arm up, clamped towards the sky, so that's what I did. Of course I had to hold it in position for a while, but eventually it stayed there. The right arm is a bit more sensible. The arms did of course make the Locust a bit more forward heavy. I would suggest when gluing this onto a base, that you put the feet towards the back of the base for extra stability. One final thing, and you do get a choice here, you can either install a rocket launcher or a 75mm anti-tank gun. I've chosen the gun, mostly because I think it looks cool, and that's as good a reason as any. If I were to use this in a game, I would just proxy that it has the rocket launcher if I wanted a rocket launcher. But if what you see is what you get is important to you, I'm sure you could easily magnetize the weapons. Anyway, that's the Konflikt 47 Hugh Shrek or Locust Medium Panzermech completed, and I'm pretty happy with it. The only problem I really have is it's very heavy. I mean, it is resin and metal, so I wasn't expecting it to be light, and the weight itself isn't bad, but if you drop this, it will explode into 1 billion pieces.
It's not made of 1 billion pieces, Herbert!
Well, I might have been exaggerating a bit, but you know what I mean. I guess the logical answer would be to just not drop it. Easy, right? The forward heaviness of this heavy boy will probably become much less of an issue once it's properly mounted on a base. I think mechs and alternate history are interesting concepts, and this model scratches that itch for me quite well. I might not play Konflikt 47, but I can still appreciate a cool model. Actually, now that I have this, and the King Tiger X, thank you Warlord, I might as well start at least one Konflikt 47 army. Why not? This model was pretty simple to build, which is obviously not a bad thing, and it is something that I understand a majority of gamers appreciate. The parts didn't require a whole lot of cleanup, which is always nice. And of course, when you are cleaning up the resin parts, if you're sanding or filing, it is highly recommended to wear a mask. If you're just cutting off bits of flash with a knife, I'm sure you'd be okay without a mask, unless for whatever reason you were cutting the flash into very tiny airborne particles, I guess. I got this stompyboi built in a single, slightly shorter than usual stream, and there was a lot of holding bits together while the glue set, so I would say the actual construction time is pretty quick. It was also enjoyable. I mean, there was some minor frustration at superglue, but that's just often what comes with working with superglue really, and it could always be much worse. I just complain a lot like a giant baby. Anyway, I think this is a nice kit. It's probably a great addition to a German Konflikt 47 army, but having never played, I'm not going to pretend to know. But it is also a cool model if you just like mechs and want to have one to display. As I said at the start of the video, I'm a Warlord affiliate, and if you do like this kit and you want one for yourself, I would very much appreciate it if you used my link to purchase it. That link can be found in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comments section below, and if you've built this model and you have pictures, we would love to see them in the modelling section of our Discord community, the link for which is also below. If you've not done so already, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, become a patron or YouTube member, or just come say hi on Discord or Twitch. And if you're feeling really helpful, why not share this video with anybody you think might get something out of it. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.